strong this week, I decided to take it back. Way back to one of those movies I first watched when I was maybe 7 or 8 years old. I don't know if everyone remembers this film, Pay It Forward. It's one of those films that kind of sticks with you, even if you don't quite understand all of its layers as a child. But watching it again as an adult, this movie hits very differently. I don't think I ever realized how heavy it actually was or how innocent the main character really was. But again, I was like 7 or 8. I don't really think I myself understood what the film was really about. I just watched it because, well, mommy was watching it. At its heart, Pay It Forward asks one deceptively simple question. What does the world mean to you? And it's that question posed to a group of 7th graders that set off a chain reaction of kindness, heartbreak, and honestly, some pretty heavy truths about life. Right from the opening, the movie sets its tone with this almost surreal act of generosity. A man's car gets totaled, and instead of anger or blame, the guy gifts a brand new Jaguar to a complete stranger. What's the catch, you may ask? The stranger doesn't want repayment in the form of money, some sinister act, which honestly speaking, as an African woman, my first thought is this guy wants to use me as a sacrifice for his witchcraft. He makes money through sacrifices, and I'm here to be a sacrifice. Because who in this world is giving away free Jaguars, and you're telling me all you want from me is to pay it forward with an act of kindness to another total stranger?
Be so for real.
And naturally, your initial reaction to this type of kindness is skepticism, because no one is giving away free Jaguars. I really wish there was, because I would like a Jaguar too. Like, who doesn't want a free Jaguar? Let's just be honest. In this world, we grow up learning that no one is ever kind just because they want to. It's like this is just too good to be true, and 9 out of 10 times it genuinely is. And that becomes the running question of the movie. Can people really change? Can kindness actually spread like dominoes? Now, let's take it back from the classroom that actually sparked this movement. Trevor, our young, very sweet protagonist, gets this life-changing assignment from his teacher, Mr. Simonet. Now, Mr. Simonet is a teacher who, despite carrying his own scars, literally and figuratively, pushes his students to think bigger than themselves. He basically wants these little 7th graders to look at the bigger picture and understand that they are just a speck in this large world. But he also wants them to know that no matter how small you actually are, maybe you can change the world and add into it, making the world even a better place. Now, as a child who comes from a background of education, I love teachers like Mr. Simonet. My granddad was a principal and a teacher, retired now, and my mom is currently a teacher. So I learned from a very young age that the way a teacher treats their student and the type of seed they plant in these little minds will shape the types of adults these kids will become. And I love teachers like Mr. Simonet because for me, I believe teachers with real passion will always push their students beyond the syllabus. And this is the standard my grandfather and mom set when it comes to teaching us. As a teacher, you need to have genuine care and love for your students so that you can be a positive role model in shaping who these kids will become in the future. And this is the type of teacher we get to see in Pay It Forward. Mr. Simonet wants to genuinely plant seeds of change, and Trevor, this sweet, independent kid, takes it so seriously. But honestly, at that age, it makes sense. As much as you're like 12 or like 13 years old in 7th grade, you still have your innocence as a kid. So everything is literally like, you've got to do it or else. Like it's it's almost like you have to take the world seriously because you're not really a kid anymore, but you're not actually a teenager. Like, it's so cute. And because Trevor really wants to do a good job in being an agent of change, his bright idea is to do a good deed for 3 different people. But instead of these three people paying him back, they each have to pass it forward to three more people. So in essence, if Trevor helps person 1, 2, and 3, each of these persons have to pick 3 different people, and so forth and so forth. So it basically starts with 3 people being helped to 9 people being helped to 27, and so forth and so forth and so forth. It's a very simple idea, right? And although it's so idealistic in this world, the movie shows you how this way of thinking can be so powerful. Unfortunately, this is a movie that portrays the innocence of a child versus Trevor learning very quickly that the reality of adults is not as simple and as easy to change. At this age, I'm old enough to actually grasp at how severe Trevor's world really is. We get to see the contrast between Trevor's innocence and his mother's reality, which is one of the most striking things I would say about this film. His mom, Arlene, works 2 jobs, one being in the strip club, and she's also struggling with drinking. Very taboo things for a single mom to be encountering, right? And the sad thing about the whole entire thing is that Trevor sees it all. He knows she's stressed. He knows she's hurting, and he tries to step in like the little man of the house. And I honestly do think a lot of parents think that their children aren't aware when they're hurting or when they're not okay. But the truth of the matter is, your kids sense things, and they may not be able to fully understand the gravity of the situation, but trust me, little kids are very intuitive, and they can tell when mommy or daddy is having like a bit of a messy time, or like they're just having a lot of stress going on. And we get to see that Trevor really does see this, and he just constantly wants to try and find ways to make life a little bit more easier for his mom. He doesn't blame his mom for where they are in life. He just tries to empathize. And I think that's so cute. And to me, that's what makes this movie so heartbreaking. Especially when our little man Trevor brings home Jerry, a homeless man with a drug problem. Now, Jerry is Trevor's first attempt at paying it forward, and it's so sweet, honestly, because he just wants to help and prove his theory. It's just unfortunate. It's just unfortunate kids don't see the risks of bringing back a homeless junkie home. You know, they tend to just see someone who's in need. And while Arlene is basically freaking out, which you can't even fault her for, because okay, my kid wants to be kind, but why is there a homeless junkie in my house? Like, this is a safety hazard. Trevor's instinct comes from a place of pure compassion, and I find it so cute. I find children's innocence, honestly, so cute. I wish as adults we kept our innocence as kids, but alas, we don't exactly live in a utopia world where we can have our innocence. Now, this movie has a lot of themes around drug abuse and alcohol abuse, you know. And naturally, what you learn is Trevor is a kid from a rather dysfunctional background. And I just sat there like, oof, you know, this poor kid. Because we get to learn Trevor mainly wants to do this pay it forward thing so he can also help his mom. And the sad reality is, most kids from troubled backgrounds always try to find a way to save their family members, especially when it comes to drug abuse or domestic violence. These little babies end up learning too much about how cruel the world can be at a very, very tender age, and that can either make or break them when they grow up. You know, as a kid, we look at adults like, wow, they're so amazing. They can afford a house, a car, they can drive, they can buy me toys and my favorite snack. They speak up for me, they protect me. Like, wow, adults are so amazing. I think as kids, we just idolize adults quite a lot. But in Pay It Forward, I like that they focus on the fact that these adults are all scared, broken, and just trying to exist in this world. Most of the time, these types of emotions and characteristics are reserved for teenagers and young adults, but We get to see adults well into their 30s still showing insecurities, fears, and just trying to navigate how to live in this world with all their baggage. We have Mr. Simonet. Although portrayed as a very confident teacher, we slowly get to see how insecure he actually is about his burn scars. So naturally, he has built rather tall walls, making it difficult for him to kind of see good in people, which is very, very interesting when you think about it, because he's literally the man that is trying to teach these little kids about being kind, but he's struggling to be kind to himself. And then we've got Arlene. Although she's portrayed as a rather strong, trying single mom who just wants to take good care of her baby, she is clearly going through some form of depression. And to numb the pain of her reality, she turns to alcohol in a very, very toxic relationship. And of course, we've got our favorite homeless junkie, Jerry. The addict who basically just wants to do better but keeps stumbling. Trevor's project becomes less about saving strangers and more about saving the people closest to him. He's trying to heal his mom, give her love, and maybe create a world where broken people can basically start over. And I'm not gonna lie, guys, I was tearing up. The more I was watching this film, the more I was crying. Like, I'm a crier, so I will cry at the slightest little bit of empathy that I see out there. All in all, that perspective hit me so hard this time around, because let's be honest, we live in a world where imperfection means you have failed. And as much as we want to sit and pretend the world has changed, it really hasn't. Society still dictates what is acceptable and what is not, even your flaws. Like, for example, you can be an alcoholic and no one is really going to bat an eyelash, but God forbid you decide to smoke weed. Like, now you're a junkie, now you're a problem. Meanwhile, we have this one person drinking alcohol every single day from the moment they wake up to the minute they sleep, but a person who smokes weed once or twice a week, that now becomes a problem. Even though it's legalized, well, decriminalized in South Africa, let's be honest, the taboo around you smoking weed is so large. And as you watch the movie, you start to realize that in Trevor's case, it becomes way more than him just trying to make a better world for everyone. He mainly wants to save his own world, and his own world is his mom. So he wants to create a world where his mom can be safe, his mom can be comfortable, his mom can feel love again. The beauty and tragedy of Pay It Forward lies in the ripple effects of kindness. We have Jerry, my favorite addict. He can't repay Trevor, so he fixes Arlene's car instead, and so forth and so forth. And we see small acts of kindness spreading in this world in such unexpected ways, to the point where it reaches people like reporters who unfortunately are portrayed as being cynical yet curious. And Trevor's little dream slowly starts becoming a reality because strangers begin to connect and lives shift in little ways. And because this is a slice of life type of movie from the early 2000s, it's not all happy endings. We witness addiction relapses, violence ends up erupting, and sometimes good deeds fall flat. This movie doesn't sugarcoat that in reality, kindness doesn't guarantee success. That's why you hear a lot of people saying, be a good person, not a kind person, because the world loves to trample on kind people. Now, listen, the ending is not my favorite. It's quite brutal, it's heartbreaking, and honestly, one of the things I hated most about 90s and early 2000 films, the realism. And like, I get it, it's a slice of life type of film, but damn, they didn't let a kid's idealism win, which sucks because this is a movie. They just kept reminding us that life is messy, it can be very cruel, and sometimes unforgiving. And by the time you have regret, it's too late. Rewatching now as an adult, a few themes did kind of stick out very crystal clear. For example, the cycle of abuse. Trevor's world is shaped by seeing his mom struggle with addiction and domestic violence. And then we get these clear signs of generational trauma, specifically with Mr. Simonet's past mirroring Trevor's current situation. Both these protagonists are showing how scars, both emotional and physical scars, kind of shape you. And then we also get the empathy in children, which is one of my favorite things about films, especially this specific movie. Trevor's innocence makes him believe people can change, even when adults don't believe it. And of course, seeing beauty in flaws. I honestly love how the movie tackled insecurities, showing that sometimes others see strengths where we see weaknesses, and your insecurity is not a reflection of how people truly see you or value you. And most importantly, I really love that it's Arlene that really solidifies this particular theme. Because as a viewer, you kind of grasp where Trevor's innocence comes from. It's not just the kid's innocence. He has a really good mom who continues to teach him kindness, even though the world hasn't been so kind to her. Here's the thing. Pay It Forward is not a feel-good movie, in my opinion. It's an emotional roller coaster that asks hard questions about humanity, kindness, and whether change is really possible. But Trevor, our little man, I love that little boy, guys. He does the impossible. He really brings hope to people who thought they were beyond saving. He makes scared adults feel love again. And honestly, that's powerful because damn. He continues to teach strangers that kindness can ripple out in ways you'll never see. And yes, I am not a fan of the ending. I really hate the ending because I like seeing kind people win in the end. I don't like seeing them lose. And maybe that's the whole point of the film, to point out that maybe change does come at a cost, and it's kind of questioning if we're willing to take that challenge in order to evoke real change in this world, or because we fear how big the cost might be, we would rather sit back and not really get involved. And in my opinion, I think that's the whole premises of Pay It Forward. It's way more than just another movie about kindness. It's a challenge, a reminder that one small act can shift a life, and maybe, just maybe, it can start a movement.